Hi guys, it's Debbie. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well. I know it's been like a really long time, and yeah, I just wanted to address some things, and I feel like, I don't know, it was time. I've been putting it off for a while, but I feel like it needed to be done, like to be said, I should say. So yeah, if you're still around, thank you so much for sticking with me through this and still sticking around. I do apologize that I haven't uploaded for a long time, a couple months or something, I think. I apologize, I really do. So a lot has happened since then. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of talk about it, I guess. Let's do it. So yeah, I haven't done like a face video for like so long, but this is definitely one of those kind of videos where you have to kind of do it this way. I feel like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I've forgotten how to talk to a camera, so bear with me. But yeah, so I don't know, I guess part of it also is, I don't know if it's like some kind of spirituality or what it is, but I'm the kind of person where I felt compelled to talk about this for a long time, and I felt like a block, like I couldn't move forward until I talked about this. And it's difficult for me to talk about, but I feel like if it can just help one person, then it's, you know, it's worth it. So I'm here to talk about it. So if you've already been following me, then you probably have been watching, because I've been talking about the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case, which I don't know, if you were here then you already know that I was going really into depth with it. And then, you know, the UK verdict came out, and the judge ruled, you know, in Amber Heard, well, the son's favor. Basically, he accepted Amber's version of events, even when confronted with evidence and facts, including evidence from police officers, you know, eyewitnesses. He completely disregarded it and said, I accept her version of the facts. And he, you know, one of the main reasons was also the fact that she donated money, which we now today know that that never happened. Big shocker. I mean, it's like, it is kind of a shocker still, because it just kind of gives you that confirmation, like, okay, yeah, she, you know, sometimes you're like, would someone really be that twisted? You know, you kind of second guess yourself sometimes, but it's, everything that has come out has been like, no, your gut feeling is right. The evidence backs up. It's not just conspiracy theories. Like, there's evidence that backs this up. But anyways, so that of course was a bummer in itself. But I think what really kind of triggered me was the reaction that I noticed that other people, even people that were, you know, discussing, you know, the case on YouTube that were pro Johnny, would say things like, oh, he should have just, you know, kept quiet. He should have not done anything about it. And I think that kind of really triggered me, and I guess I didn't really realize like why I felt so, like, you know, drawn to the case. But then after that, I feel like I really kind of like put two and two together, because if you are a survivor of abuse, and also, like, sorry, trigger warning, I'm going to be talking about that kind of stuff. So, I mean, if you've been following the Johnny Depp case, then maybe that you're, I don't know, I'm just saying, trigger warning. So, if you are a survivor, and especially if you're a survivor, like I am, who had never talked about it, who really didn't tell barely anyone, and who just, this was a person, okay, this person was a coworker of mine, and I had to go into work that same, like, the following day, and just, I pretended like nothing happened, and I just, you know, didn't tell people. And because I knew that, because people used to have rumors like, oh, there's something going on, and I'm like, no, he's just my friend. I knew his girlfriend, like, there's absolutely no way in hell. And, you know, we were friends for a long time, and he gained my trust, and it was just one time, and he got me so dry, I couldn't walk. He got me really drunk, and then he took advantage of me. And then the next day, I woke up, and he's like, I had a flashback, and when I woke up, and I was just like, no, it couldn't be. That must be a dream. There's no way, like. And then I looked at my phone, and the messages that he was sending me, like, oh, you're such a bad girl. And then I said, what are you talking about? And then he responded with, maybe it's better that you don't remember. And I was just like, what the fuck? Like, to be honest, it's not my first time, experiencing this. I've experienced it as a child, like with someone very close to me. Like, I won't get too much into that. But I'm already scared. I was raised in, like, by all intents and purposes, legally what's considered a cult, where you're not supposed to, sex before marriage is evil. And, like, I still, to this day, have things, like, where I'm weird about, I don't like to get attached, and I don't really like to have, hook up with people right away. I don't feel comfortable. I already had weird things like that about sex, and the betrayal of a friend, someone that worked probably like a year to gain your trust, and then when you let your guard down, take advantage, like, that was crazy to me. So yeah, at the time I was working as a server, serving liquor. I was drinking a lot. I was dating a guy that was a raging alcoholic that treated me like crap. My life was just headed nowhere. And I remember after that happened, I carried on working. I didn't tell anyone at work because I knew no one would believe me. And they would probably say something like, oh, you guys were hooking up the whole time, and then, something went wrong, and then you started this rumor to get back at him. I already knew, because the people working there were very toxic, and probably the customers too. This was like, it's called Surrey, a city in BC where people know it's ghetto, right? And they were just not nice people, and I knew they would have no empathy for me. They would turn it into like a gossip thing, and I felt like that would make it more painful, so I didn't tell anyone. And I became, kind of like suicidal, and I kind of internalized that, and I took it out on myself. So I carried on working there, and he ended up, like, I don't know how long after, a couple months or so, getting fired not for anything to do with that. He was doing some kind of shady stuff, caught stealing, something like that. And I got fired, I don't know, not too long after, for nothing related to that, but I just was not in a good headspace. I wasn't performing. I just was not good, and so I ended up getting fired right around Christmas time. And I remember just feeling like, so like what? I'm gonna go look for another serving job, and just this, I was just done. And then I made a vow to myself. I said, I'm not gonna let what this guy did to me ruin my life. I'm not gonna let this become my excuse of why I am messed up, or why, like, enough is enough. I'm going to say, because of this, because of what you did to me, I became a better person, I became a stronger person, and you didn't break me. And that was the promise that I made to myself. So I very quickly, like within like a week or so, I'm just like, I'm gonna go back. I just decided right away, basically, like, I'm not gonna go look for another serving job. I'm gonna go back to school. So I started looking up, and I'm like, what do I want to do? And I remembered I'm a very creative person. I've never been really into school, like, not at all. But I remember the one class in high school, I took Law 12 in grade 10, and that was the only time I've ever been like, shh, don't talk to me, I gotta do my homework. And I'm sitting there and like studying, and so I was like, okay, maybe that was the only class I remember ever enjoying. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do law. And I looked into it, and then I saw like legal assistant or paralegal. And then I thought about it, and then I said, no, it doesn't make sense to do legal assistant, because then what if I want to become a paralegal one day? I said, I'm just going to go for paralegal. So I signed up, and I think I started like a couple weeks after. I took a course with this college where it was 15 months, no break, no summer, and it was a lot of money, like $25,000. But luckily I got student loan because I couldn't afford it. And it was rough. Like it was like when I was in it, it was rough, but I was determined. I was gonna do anything to finish. Like I was just determined. And you know, when you're on the right path, the universe, the devil, whatever you want to call it, throws things in your path to get you off of that path. And I was just, you know, determined. I didn't have a job because I had to like do so much school. Like I didn't have time. And you know, I also just, what can I say? I wasn't able to get an allowance from student loan because my tuition was so high. Like if you go to like a normal school where your tuition is less, they usually give you some kind of allowance. But because it's so high, like I still had to pay out of pocket because it didn't cover everything. Like I didn't get an allowance. So I had to hustle. But I made sure that I finished, and you know, it was rough. Like there's like catty girls in there. There's just everything. Like making money was difficult, but I finished, and it was like the best thing I ever did. And now because of that, I get to look back and say in a weird, twisted way that what he did to me ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me, because now I make good money, and you know, I have something that I'm good at. And you know, not everyone is good at everything, and everyone has their own thing that they are really good at. I remember I took a semester of marketing. He said to find your purpose, find the thing that you're better than everybody else at. So I don't know, my brain for some reason just works really well with the law. Like math, I swear I have math dyslexia. Like I failed so many times. But when it comes to the law, like my brain just, I don't know, I like that there's different ways to think about, I don't know, I just like it, and I really feel a passion about, you know, helping other people, and just, I have a passion for justice. Maybe it's because I'm a Taurus, I don't know. But I really, I enjoy the law, and yeah, it's like, it's not, there's different areas of law, and sometimes, you know, you feel like there's more you can do, but I'm on the right path, or at least better than what I was, for sure. Like, I look back and think, like, if that never happened to me, maybe I still would be a server in Surrey, you know, being an alcoholic, dating an alcoholic. Maybe I would have married that guy who was abusive to me. Like, my life could have stayed, it was a dark path that I was headed. But sometimes, you know, God or the universe puts these somewhat like awful things to happen to you to get you onto the right path. And we can't change those things. We have no control over it, but what we can control is our reaction. And I chose to thrive because of this horrible thing. And I encourage you, if you have experienced something similar, try to think of, I know it sounds weird, but how can I make my life better? How can I look back on this and say, you know, you didn't break me? How can I just, you know, use this to do something good for myself? And I'm not saying, of course, no one deserves that, but sometimes, I don't know, you just have to try to think positively. Otherwise, you get into a very toxic headspace of thinking like, why me, why me? Like, I've experienced so much trauma. Like, it's like my mom has as well, but she keeps such a positive attitude that it inspires me. It inspires me to forgive. You just have to forgive and keep moving and keep trying to be the best version of yourself, you know? And that kind of brings me into my next point. So, okay, hold on. I did notice, like, a lot of people, when it comes to Amber Heard, people are saying rude, threatening things, whatever the case may be. But one thing I kind of wanted to touch upon is the fact that I think abuse is kind of like a spectrum. It can go from someone being a passive aggressive to you, someone calling you a bitch, calling you a cunt, to someone, you know, sexually assaulting you, someone punching you in the face. Like, it's a spectrum, right? And being abused is also a spectrum. Like, someone can smack your ass at the club, or someone can, you know, assault you, rape you, like whatever. It's like also a spectrum. And I think that people that are abusive were also abused. I definitely think it is a cycle. And let's use Amber Heard as an example. Like, she was abused as a kid. Her father was abusive. He was a drunk. So I think that there is some trauma that happened to her in her past, and that caused her to also allegedly, well, you know, be abusive as well. So I just want to I want to be honest as well. Like, I mean, I've never done anything on the scale of Amber Heard allegedly, whatever she alleged was done. I've never done anything on that scale, but there's definitely times in my life where I have taken my anger out on people, or said things that weren't so nice, or, you know, like things that I regret. And so I learned, and I made the conscious decision, just because I was abused doesn't mean I should be abusing other people. And that's how you break the cycle of abuse, is you say, just because someone hurt me doesn't mean I'm gonna hurt other people. It's you rising above it and saying, no, I'm not gonna perpetuate this cycle. I'm going to be a nice, kind person, and I'm not gonna let this traumatic event take away all that is beautiful about me. I'm not gonna harden my heart. I'm not gonna become, you know, a mean, vicious person. I'm not gonna, you know, snap at my friends, snap at my family. I'm not going to be that person, because there's a saying from Nietzsche, be careful when fighting the monsters that you don't become a monster. And that's another point as well. When we are, you know, talking about Amber and we're saying, oh, horrible things, like we wishing ill upon her, how does that make us better? It really doesn't. Be careful when fighting the monsters that you do not become a monster yourself. I cannot stress that enough. Do I think that Amber's upbringing is an excuse for, you know, the way she might have treated people? No, I don't. I absolutely don't. Do I think she should be held accountable? Yes. But there's a difference between wanting accountability, wanting justice, and just wanting to crucify someone. I think if we move forward with a bit of like compassion and being like, wow, what must have happened to her to make her, you know, act this way, you know? We don't know. And I think that you just have to think, even like me, I took a semester of criminology, and I find it so fascinating, like serial killers, like what happened to them. Almost all of them, not all, but almost all of them have some very tragic backstory, which I find really fascinating. And if only their parents, like that, this is all a vicious cycle of abuse and trauma. If only their parents had said, no, just because my parents and their parents were abusive doesn't mean I'm going to be abusive. If only their parent had done that, maybe their kid wouldn't have become, you know, a serial killer. Maybe, you know, maybe that's the way that we can save the next generation, is by breaking that cycle of abuse. And it's by holding someone accountable, but still having empathy and compassion, if that makes sense. No, justice needs to be served for what you did, but I still feel, I don't know how to explain it, but if you get it, hopefully you do. The answer is not by wanting to crucify these kinds of people. It just really isn't. I think we need to, you know, want justice. They should be held accountable. They should have consequences for their actions, but we should leave it at that, because otherwise you become just like them. That's the only way to break the cycle of abuse, is by wishing well, forgiving, and just in a way being the bigger person. Yes, I think you should, you know, be held accountable, whatever that means. You know, the law should give you some kind of repercussion, but I'm not going to be sitting here like obsessing about you to like becoming a like stalker or whatever the case may be, and just every day wishing ill upon someone. It doesn't make you any better, I feel like. So I definitely would encourage any of you, like, even though you are a survivor and it is triggering, just remember that what would have had to happen to someone to make them act in such a way. And that doesn't mean that I feel sorry for it. Like, if the things that are being alleged about her are true, like, that's messed up. But I don't know, I think that's just the best way to move forward. And I know it's triggering for me, and I saw a message from someone else who said that, she was also experienced abuse from, I think it was her ex-husband, I believe, and that's why she was so drawn to the case, and that's how I knew I needed to kind of talk about this, because obviously I'm not the only one feeling this way. And I think that's honestly the best thing. Even if you do feel triggered, just remember that, she was abused herself, and she's perpetuating a cycle of abuse. Is it okay? It's not. But just remember that all of these people that do or allegedly do bad things, they have a past too, just the same way as you do. But the only difference is you can make the choice to not go down that road and say, no, I choose love, I choose light, I choose forgiveness, positivity, because we all are strong, we are all powerful in our own way, and we can use that power for good or for evil, for dark or for light, whatever you want to call it, and it's up to you. You can't change the circumstances of what happened to you. You can only control your reaction. How are you going to move forward? How are you going to react? The choice, like, you always have a choice. Any time in life, you always have a choice. Even when you feel like you feel powerless, just remember, you always have a choice. How is this event going to shape you? How is it going to shape your life? You can control that. Even though you feel like you are a victim of circumstances, or how horrible, awful it feels awful. It really does. And you ask, why me? No, I don't know the answer to that. It's like, unfortunately, there's evil people out there in this world, and the only way to beat evil is by being light. I don't know. What's that saying? Like, only light can drive out the darkness. So I would just encourage everyone to try to be the light, and that's the only way to move forward, break the cycle of abuse, especially with how messed up and crazy the world is right now. I think we just all need to come together, love each other, appreciate each other, and focus on what we have in common as opposed to what divides us. And if you are a survivor as well, or if you're struggling with this, know that I'm almost always here to talk to you. Like, you can always reach out to me. My email is in the description. And, if you feel comfortable, maybe comment down below. Say, like, I can relate to that. I don't know. I don't know what to say, honestly. But I just wanted to share my story of, how I became a paralegal, and it was through such a thing as this, such a trauma as that. And I didn't even really tie the things together, but so I just wanted to share that with you. If you yourself are struggling and you are also a survivor of abuse, know that you can move forward. You can change your life around. This is not the end for you. There is life after abuse. You can make it. You can thrive. You can learn to cope. I'm not perfect. I still struggle and stuff, but you learn to cope. Like, I had to go to therapy at some point. Like, it was a lot. But if you work on yourself and work on bettering yourself and staying positive, you absolutely can live a healthy, full life. You can thrive. You can have a healthy career. You can move forward. And I just wanted to share that story with you, and hopefully this helps even one person. I feel, even as I'm saying it, this is a message that, I don't know, maybe someone out there really needs to hear. You're not alone, and and definitely I don't think, as a survivor, the answer is, to also gender survivors as well. For example, I know many men, I have lots of gay friends, and I know a few of them that have been raped or molested by women as a child, and you know, they are now gay. Were they always going to be gay, or did they become gay as a result of their abuse? I don't know. But you know, I just don't like how when people talk about rape, they talk only about women, because men get raped too, men get assaulted too, men get abused too, and I think we shouldn't put a gender on it. It can happen to anybody, and so I think that's also part of the reason why I was so drawn to this case, because, you know, why do we have to stay silent? The people saying like, oh, Johnny should have just, you know, stayed quiet, not said anything. Why? Why do we have to take it? Why do we have to stay silent? Why do we have to just go with what the system is doing? Why can't we change the system? And I think it's awesome that Johnny Depp is fighting for himself, and as he should. If he's got nothing to lose, if he knows in his heart that what he's saying is right, then why wouldn't you fight to the death? Because you've got nothing to lose, and you know that it cannot be proven because it's not true. Then absolutely you should fight to the death. And I don't think people should say that, because it's all triggering to people that are survivors. It was triggering to me. No, you should not keep quiet. And you know, and when I kept quiet, I internalized that anger onto myself, because I felt like I wasn't defending myself. I felt like I didn't stick up for myself. And that's what really messed me up the most, is like, I was just like, wow. You know, if that was a friend, I would have gone crazy. But why can't I give myself that same thing? And I think that's honestly what eats up survivors the most, when you don't say something and you blame, like you internalize that anger, like I should have said something, I didn't stick up for myself, you're like a little bitch, whatever the case may be. And so I think we absolutely, more people should come forward, more survivors need to come forward, and I'm so proud of Johnny for doing that. And you know, I didn't even have the heart to even read what the judge said, because I knew it was bullshit and it would trigger me even more. So I do apologize for that. I didn't even read it because it's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. And I'm hoping with this stuff about the donations coming out, that will allow there to be an appeal. I still have faith in Johnny, and I will still continue to cover this case, but I just needed a break. And I feel like now that I've gotten this off my chest, it'll be a little bit easier for me to move forward. And I also want to make like more lighthearted videos as well, but I just want to like switch it up, because I feel like more legal commentary is becoming more done now on YouTube, and I just want to find a way to make it different and entertaining and funny and accessible, and just to let everyone know that the law is for everyone. Everyone can educate themselves on this. But yeah, my camera is about gonna time itself out, so I guess I should wrap it up. It's already been almost half an hour. But thank you so much for watching, and I do promise I'll be back. I love all of you guys that have been here. I love this little community we've created, and I appreciate you all so much. Thanks for sticking by me through this if you're still here, and I don't know, let me know what you think. And if you are also a survivor, I'm so sorry, and my heart goes out to you. I know how awful it is, but hopefully together we can, you know, help ourselves find ways to cope. But I wish you all the best, stay safe, and we'll talk next time. Bye.